Hi, this is Bonnie from Lavinia World, and today I wanted to do a different project with the gel press. There are the jelly printing plate. There are several of these available at Lavinia World. They have the circles and the rectangles, and lots of ways for you to be creative with your stamps and other products. Today I thought that there's several different techniques I'm going to share with you that are new that I haven't shared before. So I want to get started and see what we can accomplish today. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is some music sheet paper. Now, what you need, it needs to be either paper that you can print off from the internet that is not inkjet paper, because inkjet is water-based and it will bleed. And unless you want the bleeding look in your project, I would suggest not to use that. What I'm showing you today is something that's been printed on the laser jet, or something you can actually purchase. Any music sheet. Now, if you don't want to do music, you can go ahead and use a book. They work just as well. You can get books from your charity shops really inexpensively. Just rip off a sheet that will fit on your gel plate, and you can go ahead and use that. Today I'm going to be using this as Jingle Bells. I had purchased a Christmas book, music book online, and then I went ahead and scanned that so I could use it from my laser jet. So the other thing I'm going to be using today is, this is not in the store, but if you can find something like this, it is a metallic acrylic paint, and this one happens to be from Alchemy, and it is called Ice Queen. This has worked really well. It's really turns out to be really beautiful. And there's a couple things you need to know when you use paint, and if you're going to put an impression, or put the paint on your paper, you can't wait, because the paper will stick and you won't be able to get it off. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can actually use a brayer and just roll the paint across, because I did that one time and I found out that what I wanted to accomplish worked just as well with a brush. Now this is a relatively it's a medium brush, so it's not real stiff, but it's not real soft, so it's in between. Give it a go. So I'm just getting a little bit of that paint, and I'm just going to brush that across. Now, you don't want tons of paint, but you want enough of the paint so that it will, you can see it's kind of translucent. It's not a real thick opaque paint. And that is exactly what I want, because I do not want it to cover up what I'm going to be putting on, which is the music paper. I wanted to still see the music notes underneath. Now, another way you can do this is with, that works really well, is with ink. You can use ink. The ink that you could use is today I'm thought that the words are not coming to me today. Distress Oxide works really great for this as well. Now, I forgot that one of the things I should have prepared ahead of time, and I did not, but I will do that really quick, is the Lindy's, and I'll probably have to add more paint, is the Lindy's Magical Shakers. This one happens to be the gold, the glittering gold. This is available in the shop. And the other one that I also have, also available in the shop, Lavinia World store, is Comic Shimmer, Pixie Powder, and Ancient Copper. Both of these work really great on top of this. Like I said, I'm going to have to probably add more paint, because I should have prepared that before I got started. And so all I'm doing is I am using an ice cube tray. You can use anything that will hold a little bit of water. And I am just, as you can see, I just put a little bit in there. And I'm going to do the same thing with the gold. There's two sides to this. There's a shaker side and just one that has more, to put in more. And then all I do is I use my little water. I always keep a little bit of water by my workstation. my desk, and I'm adding just a little bit of water. As you can see, I'm going to move this over. I'm going to probably have to add more paint to that anyway, and that's okay. So then the next thing you would need is one of these fan brushes. But before I do that, I am going to add more paint because I want to make sure that this is wet. So again, prepare your magic, what's it called? Magical, it's powder, it's just pigment powder. Prepare your pigment powder before you put your paint on your gel press. I'm still going to be able to get this to work fine. Now, some people don't like these little strokes, but I like the texture. I like the fact that I have that in here. I'm okay with that. It's the look I'm going for. But if you don't like that, do the brayer. All right, so now I'm going to take my fan brush, swirl that around in there, and then we're just going to flick that on here. I'm not sure if I'm going to move this to the other side so you can see that better with the light. I really love these two colors, and if you want more, you just add more of your pigment powder and a little bit more water. Okay, now I'm using the gold from the Lindy's. These are a little bit bigger because I had a little bit more water in there. And that's all you do. And now what you do, again, you do not want to leave your paper on here very long because it'll stick and you won't be able to get it up. So you just decide what part of the paper you want to use. And I like the beginning part of the music. I'm just going to rub that across. Now, you can also use watercolor paper. You can use cardstock. I happen to use just regular computer paper. So again, take that off really fast because it will stick. And that is what you get. It's really, 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 really pretty. Let me move that out of the way. It has a, I don't know, you can see the shimmer to it. It's just really pretty, and it makes a really great backdrop for your stamps, for your stamping, and anything that you want to make. So that's our first step. Okay, so while I am waiting for that paper to dry, I am going to continue on with what I am going to be adding to that paper. One of the things I'm going to be adding is a moon, and this is a piece of vellum. And I decided I wanted to paint this with a glitter, and I thought the best way to do that is to use some Mod Podge and a little bit of Fairy Hugs glitter. The glitter that I am using is Pixie dust. It is my favorite glitter, and I'm not a glitter person per se, but I love this glitter. And you'll see that I've used it several times in any of the videos that I have done on this channel. So you have to figure out how much you think is going to cover whatever thing that you're going to be painting. And you might not always be completely accurate, but it's really not all that expensive to use a little bit of Mod Podge and a little bit of this glitter. Glitter, I don't know about you, but I still have probably all the glitter I've ever had. So this glitter, on the other hand, I probably will use up in my lifetime. So anyway, I'm using a teeny tiny spoon, and I'm going to be using about that much glitter. And I am just pouring that into my Mod Podge. The more you put, the more the glitter there'll be. It's just how you mix it up. So then I'm using a brush, and I'm just stirring that in there. Now, if I look at that consistency and I think I want more, I will add more Mod Podge or I'll add more glitter. It just depends. And you know, as you do it, you'll start to have your favorite way of making it. So that is my own, if you want to call it, glitter glue. Now, the deal about vellum is when it gets wet, I think I'm going to turn this other light on a minute. So we have, there we go, another source of light. It's going to curl up. When it gets wet, vellum curls up, and you just have to pay attention to it. As you can see, it's already started. And I'm just going to, I will flatten that back out, and it will be fine. but this makes a really nice, think of it any place you can use glitter glue with any of your loose glitters by doing this. So it's just a technique I wanted to share with you. And like I said, it's a little, it curls up, but it will go right back flat for you. Don't worry, because I've already made one. And I'm going to show you what I've done so far so you know what I'm talking about. I think you could see, yeah, you can see that on my, just flatten that out. Make sure you get that all over. This is so pretty. It has like a hologram look to it, and it makes such a pretty moon. Now, yeah, with this vellum, and it's kind of still see-through-y, and I like that too. Now, and the other thing, just to let you know, and I'll probably show you later, when you go to attach this to the paper you've already made, I use this vellum again. Not vellum, I use this Mod Podge, just not with the glitter. Now, what you have not seen, if I could find it a minute, what I did with it. Okay, I am going to be using a stamp, and it's stuck. Oh, here it is. I'm going to be using the stamp, and this is a stamp I'm going to be using on the card or on the project. It's probably not going to be a card. But at any rate, when I stamped this, I stamped it on watercolor paper and I cut her out. Now, I want to use, because I have several of this, a lot of this left, I'm going to use it on her wings. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint that on there. And like I said, I did use, this is watercolor, so it won't curl up. So while you've got this out, think of all the things that you can go ahead and add your glitter to, your projects that you're working on. So, and that will dry, be really pretty. So, okay, that's the first step. Okay, so before we get going any further, I want to go ahead and tell you that stamp that I used, that I put the glitter on her wings, and or it could be a boy. This is LAV357 Sky. And I'm also using this one, I understand to be retired, but in case you can find it, it's Hill Border Thin Lines, and it's LAV418. And I've used this several times on my cards. I really love these. I wish that they could keep these strips because they're really, really nice. Okay, so I went ahead and I stamped that, and then what I do is I stamped it with VersaFine Clair Nocturne, and that ink is in the Lavinia World store. All of VersaFine Clair is. And I have also used the Nuvo Fine Detail Embossing Powder. This one is the crystal clear. And I use that pretty much on every stamp I stamp. Not all of them, but most of them. And that's what I did with this one. And you can always see there's a little bit of a shine to it. In this case, I wanted to add some of that extra Mod Podge that I had done before it dries out. And what I did previously, I've already tried this out, is I made this with that. And in doing that, I use a gel pen. I'm not sure, they don't always say the colors on this, but this is a little bit darker. It's not quite gold. But I go ahead and I'm just coloring in all these lines that are behind. To give it, it's going to match up with what I'm doing on the gel press paper that we made. So just go ahead and color all those in. And then, like I said, because I had some of this extra Mod Podge glitter left over, I decided that I'm going to paint that on top of this. Now, what I noticed is when I went to paint it, that the gel pen slightly reacts to the Mod Podge. So there must be some sort of water base in this gel pen, because I know that the Mod Podge is water-based. But by putting, I also stamped this on watercolor paper. So it is taking all of that fine. This doesn't take very long to color these in. But then what I did, like I said, is I want you to see the reaction so you don't worry if you try this yourself. So I'm almost done. Should probably color them that way so you can see a little bit better. And this one cuts out very easily because it's just a straight line. Okay, one more. Now I'm going to start at the other end, hoping that if these needed to dry slightly, but I think we'll be fine. So it actually changes the color. This actually changes the color of the gel pen. Yep, this is still, I can still use that. You're going to see how this kind of bleeds over to the side of this. I'm cutting it out, it doesn't really matter. But it does, it bleeds. But it also changes the color and it makes it shiny. I'll show you this close up. So like I said, the Mod Podge does have a reaction to the gel pen. So you can plan on that. Even after it dries. Because the one I showed you previously, it had been drying overnight, if you want to call it that, just been sitting there. Okay, I'm going to show you that close up. You can see it does bleed, but I'm cutting that, so it's not going to matter, but it does also give it a shine. It's really pretty. All right, so that was another tip for you today, and I'm going to start, we have a little bit more to go, try to get that done. Okay, so my paper is all dry and I am ready to stamp on it. And you can see, you're going to say if it's a little bit buckled and everything, I'm okay with that because once I put whatever I use on the back, it'll straighten it all up. Usually when I use Mod Podge or something to adhere it, it makes it all lay flat. I am not really sure where I'm going to be putting this project, but probably you'll see why at the very end on a music box of some sort. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how this is going to be set up so you know what I'm doing. I have the this border strip and it's very particular where I want it because I'm going to be stamping this tree and I want the end of the tree covered up underneath this. At the same time, I'm going to be using this moon on here and that also had to line up with the tree. So I've got that all set up and I'm going to be using the VersaFine Clair Nocturne to stamp it. Now I'm going to show you a little tip with this in just a second, so I want you to see it's kind of fun what I discovered you can do with the new trees that just were released. Now this stamps a little bit differently. It sticks to this paint. So you have to make sure you've secured it really well, and at the same time, the washi tape can take the paint off of what you have already prepared. So plan on that. And that's okay, again, because this looks a little bit more grungy. So, and if that bothers you, make it, cut it bigger where the paint isn't, and then it won't take it off. I just cut it right up to the paint. All right. You're going to see what I mean about it sticking slightly. All right, I'm going to have to stamp that one more time. Now, this is one, actually I can see how I could have pressed down. This is one of the stamps that I am not going to be adding any embossing powder to because of this little tip I want to show you with the new stamps. All right. I'm going to make sure you get this. it stamps really well on top of this paint. Yep, super. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I have to dry this because I am going to be adding another stamp on top of this, and I want to emboss it with embossing powder, and I don't want the embossing powder to go on this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dry this off, and I'll be right back. Okay, so before I get going any further, I wanted to show you the two stamps I'm using to do this little technique. This is LAV357 Fairy Fir Tree 2. So that's probably the larger one. And then this one is the brand new one. That is LAV592 Red Pine Small. So these two match up really well together, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So if you go ahead and lay this on, and right down the center of it, it's a little bit longer, as you can see, so I am not going to be stamping that, because if you remember, I told you that this is going to be going across the bottom, and I want to make sure that that does not show. I don't want that little bitty end, so I'll make sure that doesn't get stamped. So in this case, I'm going to be stamping this with the Pinecone VersaFine Clair. So I've got that all lined up. Like I told you, it can move slightly, so we got to be careful there. Make sure that stays down well. I'm going to add a little bit more tape, I think, up there. Okay, so again, remember not to stamp the very, very end. And you can't see it a whole lot. And you could think of the different ways you can do it. Do a lighter tree in the background, and then it'll really show up if you want it to. But what I want to do, so you can't even see it, and that's okay because I know that it's there. I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to show you. Basically, all I'm going to do now is put embossing powder on that. And I'll show you what happens in the end. Be right back. Okay, so I was a little bit impatient with this one that I just did. And it wasn't as dry as what I had hoped it would be in the background. So it still gave me the look, but not the look I wanted you to see when I did on the first one. The first one, you can really see more of the details of that stamp in the center. So I'm sure there's better ways you can do it, but the idea of doing it that way, just wait for the one in the background to be a lot more dry, and then add your second stamp. Anyway, you can see on this one how I added the moon. And it's so hard to show you in this, but it's a little bit iridescent. Here, maybe if I can turn it. There, you can kind of see how it's iridescent. It's really pretty using the glitter that way. So all I'll do on this one, and here's the one that we worked on. It's wrinkled and it's fine because that's what the moon has, a little bit of texture to it. I'm going to be using Mod Podge and gluing it down with Mod Podge right there, just like that one. So that's going to be the next step. Okay, so another little tip. When you go to apply your vellum to anything, if you put the Mod Podge on the back again, what will end up happening is it'll curl up again on you, and then it's hard to place that down. So I needed to understand where that positioning was going to be. So the die that I used to cut this out, I had cut out a moon previously to use on another project, and so I used that and used some of the ink and just went around the outside, which then gave me a position so I knew where the moon was going to go and where to apply my Mod Podge. So I'm going to apply the Mod Podge here, and then I'm just going to lay this down on top. No curling that way. Okay, so I have added the Mod Podge there, and I wanted to show you how I applied that to the background. So it is going to be, you're going to have to do some burnishing to get that down. And you can keep coming back and checking it out, but you just kind of burnish that down. It doesn't matter that the Mod Podge got over the edge either, because it'll dry clear. In fact, I almost prefer it to be extending beyond it so I know it got the edges so they don't curl up as much either. So with the vellum, the reason I chose that is because I wanted to be able to still see the design behind, but I wanted to have some shimmer. Like I said, once it dries, it'll dry a lot flatter. I'll just show you on my original. So that's where we are so far. Now on to step 2, or 3, or 4. Okay, so I am ready to add the border strip, and I wanted to show you it was a little bit longer, and that's fine because these really allow for you to cut them any place. It doesn't really mess anything up. And again, I wanted to make sure that I had that covered, and that's how that's going to go on. I just used double-sided tape on the back, 1 layer, and then for the image, I believe what I did for him is I put just 1 layer of double-sided tape on the feet because they're going to overhang on top of this heel piece, and then I doubled up on the rest to make him level sitting. I think I'm going to turn my light so you can see a little. There, oops, too much. There we go. So you can see how that will sit. And I doubled up on the bird too. So that's the look of what we were going for. And like I said, I wish you could see it for real because it's so pretty. You can see how it shines, but you can't really see how pretty all the glitter and everything really is on there. But it is really a nice, it's a fun way to make, all starting with a gel press for the background and then adding your pieces as you go. Okay, so I have completed both of the projects that I was working on, and I just wanted to I wanted to show you what I ended up doing. I had some chalkboard, just chalkboard, I don't know how to say, left, wood, painted wood, and decided that this would work really well. It was just a piece of chalkboard, and my husband drilled 2 holes at the top, and I put some wires. I'm going to hang it from that wire in the back. But what I decided, because I told you I used at the beginning, if you remember, I used Jingle Bell paper, and I thought, well, I'm going to add some Jingle Bells. I really wanted to put it on a music box, but I did not have one that would work for this. So I thought, well, this works really well. I have a little bit of jingle. So all I did was I used Mod Podge on the back of the what we made, and then I adhered it to the top, and then I put another Mod Podge layer on top of this before I actually put these on, or if I had already put it on, I just painted a little bit underneath it. So I just wanted you to see what the finished project was and how it looked. I've got both of them. This is the one that I had a little bit more of the ink in the center, and then this one is a little bit more defining that one stamp, so you can see what I really was trying to go for with that. So I just wanted to remind you, if you could please like and subscribe to this channel, it would be fabulous. We also have all the links I have below for the Lavinia World product, and then also the DT have weekly tutorials. We have something throughout the week. And then I also would like to invite you to the Anything Lavinia Facebook group, where you can come and share your own projects that you have made with Lavinia stamps or anything Lavinia. And there's also a challenge in there, and it's every 2 weeks, and you will have a chance. The winner will win $15 to the Lavinia World store. We also have, Lavinia World also has another challenge that's on the blog, and it's called Lavinia World challenge. And the same thing with that. There's a $15 prize for the winner. So I just would like to invite you to both of those. So thanks for stopping by today, and I hope you had fun learning a little bit different techniques, I hope. Talk to you again soon.